pop on real quick and share some of the things that I have been working on. So I've been super inspired by Tashiana and Crystal and Amanda's initiative for the storykitcrush project. So if you're not familiar with that, the idea that the three of them came up with is that they have a ton of story kits in their stash from Allie Edwards, and so wanting to crush those kits. You can call it a, stash busting, killing a kit, whatever. The concept is pretty clear. Use as much of the kits as you possibly can, and tell as many stories to really use our products and stop hoarding them. So I've been really excited and felt really inspired by that initiative. So I had been working on the Celebrate story kit, which was just from December of 2019. So not very old. I have some older ones in my stash that I also intend to sort of bust through. But I'd been working on the Celebrate kit, and so it was on my desk when they started this challenge just a week or two ago. And so I decided to jump right in and use what was on my desk already. And so that happened to be two main things: the Celebrate story kit and the January 2020 Stories by the Month kit. And so I'm going to walk you through and show you what I have made with both of those kits, and just sort of share the projects that I've made. All right, so the first thing that I've got, I am still working, like maybe many of you, on 2019 Project Life. So this is a 2-page spread from a week in December, the 16th through the 21st, not quite a week, because I did something weird on the back there. But this is using primarily the Celebrate story kit, as well as pieces from January Stories by the Month. So this card, this black and white card, and this Get It card, and the Celebrate This card are all from the Stories by the Month kit. Everything else is from the Celebrate kit. Also, the only other things that I added in outside of any of those kits were this label here is from Ellie's Studio that I've got the dates on, and then this gold stickers, the gold puppy stickers, are also from Ellie's Studio. Everything else is from those kits. So using it to tell some stories about this week through the lens of celebration and what we were doing at the time to celebrate. Then I also did the last week. I actually did this one was prior. I did this one before this challenge was announced. But this is the last week of December 2019 in my Project Life album. So another 12 by 12 spread. And this is using all the Celebrate story kit only. There's, I don't think, anything else in here. The only thing I added was they may be hard to see. You may be able to see them here or down here. I added in, there you can see one, this punched vellum hearts that those are stars. Punched vellum stars that I just punched with one of my paper punches. And the other thing, is the numbers, and they correspond with the numbers that I've stamped here on this card to correspond with the corresponding journaling. So that's 2 full 12 by 12 Project Life layouts done. The other thing that I did with the Celebrate kit, I loved so many of these cards, and definitely ones like this card and these two things, so things that I would typically hoard forever and ever and always. But I realized last year at some point that I'm happier if these things make it into my album and I can see them and touch them rather than, and sort of experience them with my photos and with my stories rather than them just living in my stash where I see them and get excited about them, but that's kind of it. So this is my closing page for my 2019 album. So I just included 3x4 photos of the 2 or 3 of us, depending on, you know, mostly of our family, at different points throughout the month. These little month stamps are really, really old Stampin' Up, and I just cut the papers down to make the little arrows myself. This card, and this card are all from the Celebrate Story Kit, as well as these two, the Celebrating Hard Times and Celebrating Good Times. If you've been following along, you know that last year was definitely bitter and sweet, and so this card was totally perfect. So I did my journaling here. I backed this with a piece of gold embossed star paper that I had from December Daily. It's just something I got at Michael's. And then what I did up here is I actually took the stamp that was included in the Celebrate set, in the Celebrate Story Kit, sorry. This guy. So these stars here. I took that and I stamped it in some Versamark just randomly. I like sort of inked just one part of the stamp and then stamped it out to do some gold embossing over top of this card because I just thought it was a little messy and looked really pretty. And so I like that little bit of shimmer there. And then I also stamped or heat embossed, gold embossed it down here on this card as well. All right, so that's 2.5 12 by 12 spreads with one story kit and a Stories by the Month kit, but not even really. I barely used the Stories by the Month kit in there, in that stash. All right, so the other thing that I made using these two kits, I wasn't planning to do the full, so a lot of this is from the, this is my 2020 Project Life album. I've switched to 9 by 12 and I'm switched to a monthly format. So my goal is to primarily use the Stories by the Month products in this album and then save the story kits for additional stories that I want to add in that fit the theme that month and fit in with my month, or save those for my story albums, or like travel albums, you know, save those for other projects. So a lot of this is parts from the Family Story Kit and 2020 January Stories by the Month. And then this is Stories by the Month. And I'm actually not going to, I filmed another video walking through this page. Yeah, so I used some of the Stories by the Month kit in this project as well. And the only reason I'm showing you that at all is because at the end I'm going to show you what I have left of both of those kits, since I kind of combined them and used them more or less together. All right, so the other thing that I did, if you remember, I am making a 6x8 story album this year. And so I'm just using one of the Allie Edwards chipboard albums from her shop to include different stories, random stories. These are just random layouts. Some of these are from last year. This is one I made last year of a story from like 2015. So I plan to add to this throughout the year with just stories and playing inside and outside the page protectors. I was inspired by Allie's project in the Story Kit classroom for Celebrate this month. She made something sort of similar to this, like a flip out page of a trip that her and her husband had gone on. And so I made this see-through page as a page of vellum that I used that stamp from the Story Kit stamp, or the story stamp, the stars here. I used that to gold emboss and create sort of my own vellum patterned paper. And then I put over top those, I think they were called like prompt cards or story prompt cards or something like that. Celebrating us, celebrating this, celebrating today, celebrating relationships. And then I used this story chipboard. This is from the January Stories by the Month chipboard set. I used that as sort of my tab. So it opens here. And then what I did inside here is I've got a 6x8 photo But I forgot to print it big enough. Sorry, that's kind of not centered. I forgot to print it big enough to go into the binder rings because I didn't want it to be in a page protector and I didn't want to reprint it and waste the ink. So I just added a piece of cardstock here and then I clear embossed the star pattern here as well. So it sort of goes along with that. I cut down one of the 3x4 cards that says Celebrate Today in that pretty gold font, gold foil. Added the date, and this is from last year, and then did my journaling over here on the back of the cards. Just handwritten, quick, but I really like the way this turned out. And then I just attached this page with some gold washi tape. Then on the back, I've got another story that I wanted to tell that was really inspired by the combination of these two story prompt cards, the Celebrating Progress and Celebrating Small Victories. These word phrase stickers are something I pulled from a Word in the Life kit, or I'm sorry, not a Word in the Life. That's not a thing. A Week in the Life kit from 2 years ago. And then down the side, I backed that green piece of paper with a piece of white cardstock and just stamped the "Oh Yay" stamp over and over in gray. And so that's this stamp here from the story stamp for Celebrate. And the "Oh Yay" chipboard was also from that story kit. And then I paired that with a 3x8 insert that is this is a paper pad that came last year. I think January of last year. It was an add-on for Stories by the Month or the story kit. And so this is about, I just did my journaling here and sort of like steps about it. And this is about my 52 5K challenge that I'm doing. And so this is a photo from November that I wanted to just use to tell that story because I haven't really told that story yet. And then added an Avery index tab to make that a flip for when it goes in my album. And used, again, the story stamp, "This is totally worth celebrating," and stamped that right in the tab there. And then I'll stamp something else on the back that's related to whatever goes on this page in the album. So that's two 6x8 layouts. And I have a third 6x8 pocket page layout that is just really simple. One of the things that came up for me while I was listening or watching the class and working in the Story Kit classroom was this idea of celebrating my dog Ruby and I right now, because our relationship has changed in the last 6 months as I've started working from home and sort of working on training her, and she's spending more time with me while my husband gets settled in his new job and gets his accommodations worked out there. And so I just wanted to do a little bit of journaling with that. So I used this really pretty gold foiled Currently Celebrating card, did a little bit of journaling. This is a picture from a year or two ago at the beach that was just in like a to be scrapped pile that I have. And then this 4x6 card was part of the Celebrate kit, as well as these story prompt cards. And then again, just use the "This is totally worth celebrating" stamp to adhere it on there. I wanted to stamp it on directly on the picture, and I tried that, and then I messed it up, and I reprinted it and tried it again and messed it up. So I said, scrap that, and just went to the better one that I had, the better print that I had, and put the little label over there. And that's just something I cut out of a piece of cardstock. So the other thing that I've done with the story, the Celebrate Story Kit, is a page in this album. This is a 3x8. This is a green linen album. This was part of the December Daily release for this year, so for 2019. And I am going to use it to to document our November trip to Disney World in this size. So I used this large wood veneer, says Celebrating the Story. It was part of the kit for Celebrate, and added that just right in the page protector. So right off the bat, it's a see-through element that I love. And this whole trip was about celebrating. It was my sister-in-law's anniversary. My husband and I actually found out the day, like literally the minute that we landed back home in Baltimore, that he was getting a job offer, which was fantastic because this was November. We got let go from our jobs in July, so it had been a while. And this was my nephew's first trip to Disney too. So, and our first trip as a family with like my husband's parents and everything in a long time. So, so definitely about celebrating. And so I wanted to just kick it off with something big and statement and bold, and I love this. And so then I just printed a little photo. This is just the 2x3 size of the entrance to Disney World and stamped the dates. And then on the back, I just used one of Allie's story cards, again in that 2x3 size, to kick off little journaling about this is why we went to Disney World. So that's in there. The other thing that I did is a little bit of prep ahead of time because I liked a lot of the Celebrate Story Kit had like some Christmas colors of like blue and green, like a dark blue and green and red. And then it had this sort of light palette of pinks and golds and whites, and this like minty green color. And so I love all those colors and they're really speaking to me right now. So what I did is I actually prepped this. I don't know how this will work out yet, but I prepped a 6x12 insert for my Project Life album for March. In March, I will turn 40. It will be my 40th birthday. And we have some things planned. And so this is what I plan to use to tell that story in my Project Life album. And so, yeah, I just put the cards that I liked in here that matched and went together. So the plastic heart or plastic stars, one of them will be a see-through pocket, I believe. These others I just have in here because I want to like use them and add them to something. And then the quote card, she loved life and it loved her right back in that pretty gold foil. So the other thing that I have left are these chipboard pieces from the kit. So not many, but all in the pattern, all in the colors that I've saved, to do for this project. So I will probably use these or some of these on this layout. So those are kind of going to go together in my album so that I don't forget about them. And the only other things that I have left from this whole story kit, which is kind of amazing and maybe the first time ever that this has happened, is of course my story stamp. I don't throw those away or get rid of them or anything. So I've got the story stamp and I've actually used it quite a bit, which I feel really happy about. And it's definitely one that will be reused because it's just got, the sentiments are just really great. And then I have the Celebrate acrylic word that it just didn't work into my project, but I know that I will find something for it to work into because it's just very general, and always looking for things to celebrate. And then I have about a third of a sheet of word phrase stickers that came in the kit. Because these are red, I don't tend to use red a ton, but they're also sort of celebrate. I was thinking that I may just put them in with my December daily supplies. I may do that. They may just go in my stash. So that's what I have left of Celebrate. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, and the chipboard stickers. But again, I have a plan for those, or at least some of them. And then in terms of my January Stories by the Month kit, this is what I've got left. So I've got a good amount of chipboard left. All things that I like, so I don't feel the need to like purge any of these right away or anything. So this will just go in my stash. I have the word phrase stickers. Again, many of these that I really like, so they'll go in my stash. The stamp, which I didn't use at all yet. I may still use this, but that'll go in my stash. And then I have these two cards, January Memories and Renew and Refresh. I'm likely to use this one before I use this one, but I'm going to put them both in my stash anyway. And then, oh, sorry, that's Ruby at the door if you could hear the scratching. This less is more card. We are actually working on some decluttering and things this month, this year in our house. So I'm definitely going to use this card. I'm not ready to tell those stories yet because they're still in progress. And then this, I actually made a little note. So you can see I use these are just small post-it notes that I keep in my drawer to make notes of myself. So this January High Fives kit card I love. And so I just wrote a note to use it to document the story of finally hanging all of our treasures. So when I took Christmas down the end of last week, I know it's late. I'm a late Christmas person. This is probably the earliest it's come up or gone down in a while. But I'm finally hanging all of our family photos and family treasures and artwork that people have made us and that we've purchased, and feeling really great about that for the first time that we've lived in this house. I think 4 years this January. And to finally get some of that stuff up on the walls is making me really happy. So I'm going to tell that story. So some of these pieces I already have plans for. But this is pretty good for what's left of 2 kits is, less than 10 things. And 2 of them are like sort of permanent collection items. So the rest of this is sort of consumable, but these are not. So that's what I have made with the Celebrate Story Kit and the January 2020 Stories by the Month kit. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. I'd love to know if you are working too on the storykitcrush initiative and working through your story kits. Please be sure to share that with me so I can cheer you on and check it out what you're working on. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. That helps with channel recognition and sort of it's just helpful. If you'd like to subscribe, please do so. I'll put a little link up for you to be able to do that. Thanks for watching the video today.